They tied the Apache twins to a tree for stealing bread. Quiet rancher cut them loose and took them in. A soft golden light spilled over the wooden rooftops, touching the edges of fences and wagons. Birds chirped in the distance, and the faint smell of fresh bread from the village bakery floated in the air. Yet, amidst this calm morning, a quiet tension lingered in the shadows. Two young Apache twins, no older than 12, moved cautiously along the outskirts of the village. Their clothes were worn and patched, their bare feet dusty from walking long distances. Hunger gnawed at their stomachs so strongly that it felt like a constant ache they could not ignore. For days, they had survived on whatever scraps they could find in the forests and fields, but it had never been enough. Today, their hunger had grown unbearable, pushing them toward a choice they both knew was risky. The twins, who looked almost identical with their dark hair and curious eyes, had always been inseparable. They shared everything from laughter to tears, from hardships to dreams. They understood each other without words, a bond formed through shared struggles and endless days of wandering. Today, that bond would be tested in ways neither of them could predict. As they crept closer to the village center, the aroma of freshly baked bread became stronger. The smell was warm, sweet, and almost impossible to resist. It seemed to call out to them, whispering promises of relief from the emptiness in their bellies. The twins exchanged a silent glance. Each could see the fear and hesitation in the other's eyes, but also the same desperate hope. "I think we can do it," one whispered, his voice barely audible. The other nodded, though his heart pounded in his chest. The plan was simple: sneak into the bakery, grab a loaf of bread, and run before anyone noticed. They had done small things like this before, taking berries or small fruits from fields, but never something so bold. Still, the hunger inside them made the risk seem worth it. They waited until the baker stepped outside to talk to a customer, then quietly slipped through the door left slightly open. Inside, the bakery was warm and cozy. The smell of bread was stronger than outside, rich and comforting. Shelves were stacked with fresh loaves, some round and crusty, others soft and fragrant. The twins' eyes widened as they scanned the room. They reached for a loaf, their hands trembling. Just as they were about to grab it, the bell on the door jingled. The twins froze, hearts leaping. A villager had returned unexpectedly, and within moments the bakery filled with the sounds of shouting. "Thieves, stop them!" someone cried. Panic surged through the twins. Their plan had failed before it had even begun. The villagers acted quickly. Some ran to block the doors, others grabbed ropes and tools to restrain the children. The twins tried to run, but their small legs could not match the speed of the adults. In a matter of minutes, they were captured and dragged to the center of the village. People murmured angrily about repeated thefts and the need to teach the children a lesson. The twins were tied to a strong oak tree near the edge of the village. The ropes were rough against their skin, and the midday sun beat down on them without mercy. The villagers stepped back, satisfied that their warning was clear. They wanted the twins to feel shame, to learn that stealing was unacceptable, and that the consequences were harsh. The twins sat there quietly, their faces streaked with tears. Their stomachs ached, not just from hunger but from fear and humiliation. They tried to shrink into themselves, wishing that somehow the world would disappear and let them go. Yet the world did not disappear. The tree, the ropes, the angry villagers, all of it pressed down on them like a heavy weight they could not lift. Hours passed slowly. Some villagers whispered to each other, while others went about their daily tasks, pretending not to notice the children. The twins' eyes wandered, taking in every detail. The way the sunlight filtered through the leaves, the shadow of a passing bird, the distant sound of cattle lowing in the fields. It was all so ordinary, yet it felt unreachable to them in their desperate state. As time went on, the twins began to feel the pangs of hunger grow even sharper. The loaf of bread they had hoped to take now seemed like a distant dream. They could see families eating together, sharing meals they would never have. It was painful, yet there was a strange clarity in the moment. The twins realized the weight of their actions, not just the theft, but the fact that they had risked so much. They had taken a path that led them into danger, but it was a path born out of survival, not malice. Despite their fear, the twins did not speak. Words seemed useless against the tension and the anger around them. They sat side by side, leaning against the rough bark of the tree, trying to find comfort in each other's presence. Even in punishment, even in shame, they were together. That togetherness gave them a small spark of courage, enough to keep their spirits from breaking completely. Then, in the quiet moments of the afternoon, a shadow fell across the clearing. A figure approached slowly, moving with a calm and deliberate pace that was different from the harsh energy of the villagers. The twins lifted their heads, curiosity mixing with caution. The man was a rancher, known in the village but rarely seen outside his property. He was quiet and gentle in manner, with eyes that seemed to notice everything. Unlike the others, he did not shout or scold. He simply stopped in front of them and studied them quietly. The twins' stomachs tightened. They did not know what this man would do. Would he join the villagers? Would he punish them further? Or would he ignore them completely? The uncertainty was almost as heavy as the ropes around their wrists. The rancher knelt down to their level, not saying a word at first. He looked into their eyes, not with anger or disappointment, but with something softer, something that felt almost like understanding. The twins could hardly believe it. Could someone really see them as people, even after what they had done? For a long moment, no one spoke. The twins' small hearts raced, unsure what would happen next. The rancher then reached forward and untied the rough ropes, freeing them from the tree. Relief washed over the children like a sudden rain, leaving them trembling but grateful. They could move again, could feel the warmth of the sun on their skin without restriction. The sense of freedom was overwhelming. The twins stayed close to the rancher, unsure whether to trust him fully. He offered them water, then some bread from his own supplies, and finally, a quiet invitation to follow him back to his ranch. It was a strange and wonderful moment, a moment where fear, hunger, and hope collided. The twins realized that their world had shifted, that something unexpected and life-changing had entered their lives. As they walked behind the rancher toward his property, leaving the judgmental eyes of the villagers behind, the twins held onto each other tightly. They did not yet understand the future, but for the first time in a long while, they felt a sense of safety. They felt seen. And in that feeling, they found a small, fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, life could offer them something better than survival and fear. The rancher led the twins along a narrow dirt path that wound through tall grass and wildflowers. The sunlight danced across the landscape, and the soft chirping of birds seemed to celebrate the freedom the children now felt. Even though their legs were tired from standing tied to the tree all morning, they walked silently behind the rancher, sensing that this man was different from anyone they had ever met. He did not rush them, nor did he scold or question them harshly. Instead, he moved with quiet confidence, his presence calm and reassuring. The twins glanced at each other, both still unsure if they could trust him completely. Their past had been filled with hardship, hunger, fear, and constant movement to survive. Adults they encountered often reacted with anger or punishment, so the kindness they had just experienced felt almost unreal. Yet, they could see the genuine concern in the rancher's eyes, a concern that gave them the courage to follow him without resistance. As they walked, the rancher occasionally spoke in a soft, steady voice. "It's a long way to the ranch," he said. "We'll get there soon, and you'll have something to eat." He did not ask questions about why they had stolen bread or scold them for their actions. Instead, he focused on the immediate need to care for them. The twins listened quietly, feeling a strange mix of relief and apprehension. They had never experienced such patience before. The path led them through a small creek, where the twins paused to drink from the cool, clear water. The rancher watched them carefully, making sure they were safe. The twins marveled at the simple beauty around them, the way sunlight sparkled on the water, the gentle hum of insects in the air, and the way the trees swayed in the breeze. For a brief moment, they forgot their hunger and fear, feeling only wonder at the world around them. Soon the ranch appeared on the horizon. It was a modest property, with a small wooden house surrounded by a few barns and open fields. Horses grazed peacefully, and chickens wandered freely, clucking softly. Smoke rose from the chimney of the house, carrying the smell of cooking food. The twins' stomachs growled in response, but they were too shy to ask for anything. They had learned long ago not to expect kindness, and even a small gesture could feel overwhelming. The rancher approached the house first, opening the door and motioning for the twins to enter. "Come in," he said. "You'll be warm and fed here." Inside, the house was simple but clean. A fire burned in the hearth, casting a comforting glow, and the aroma of cooked vegetables and bread filled the air. The twins hesitated at the threshold, unsure if it was safe to enter. But the rancher smiled gently, and that small gesture encouraged them to step inside. He led them to a table and handed them plates filled with warm bread and vegetables. The twins sat down, their hands shaking slightly as they reached for the food. Hunger had made them cautious, but the smell and sight of the meal were too tempting to resist. They ate slowly at first, savoring every bite, the warmth of the food spreading through their cold and tired bodies. The rancher watched them quietly, allowing them the dignity of eating at their own pace. As they ate, the twins felt a strange emotion, something they had not experienced in a long time. It was a feeling of safety and acceptance, a small spark of hope that life could be better than survival alone. They glanced at each other, eyes wide, realizing that for the first time, someone had not only forgiven them for their mistakes but had also chosen to care for them. The realization was overwhelming, yet comforting. After the meal, the rancher showed the twins to a small room at the back of the house. It was modest but clean, with 2 beds and a window that looked out onto the fields. "You can rest here," he said. "It's safe and no one will hurt you here." The twins nodded, still unsure if this comfort was real or just a fleeting moment of kindness. But as they lay down on the soft beds, exhaustion overtook their fear, and they drifted into a deep, dreamless sleep. The following days were a mixture of curiosity, learning, and gentle guidance. The rancher did not force the twins to do anything they were uncomfortable with. Instead, he introduced them slowly to the routines of the ranch. They learned to feed the chickens, gather eggs, and help with small chores around the house. At first, their movements were clumsy and hesitant, but the rancher's patient instructions and encouragement gave them confidence. The twins also began to explore the land around the ranch. They discovered hidden paths, small streams, and quiet meadows where wildflowers grew in abundance. Each discovery brought a sense of freedom they had never known. The rancher watched from a distance, allowing them the space to explore while ensuring their safety. He understood that trust could not be forced, it had to be earned, and he was willing to give the twins the time they needed. One afternoon, as the twins worked in the garden, the rancher approached them with a gentle smile. "You've done well," he said. "You're learning quickly." The twins looked up, surprised by the praise. They had spent much of their lives being told they were not good enough, that their mistakes defined them. Hearing words of encouragement felt strange, almost magical, and it motivated them to continue learning and improving. Over time, the twins began to open up about their past. They shared stories of their travels, their struggles, and the hunger that had driven them to steal. The rancher listened without judgment, offering understanding and guidance instead of criticism. The twins realized that they could speak honestly without fear of punishment, and that trust became stronger between them and the rancher. The villagers, however, were not all pleased with the rancher's actions. Word spread quickly that he had taken in the twins, and opinions were divided. Some admired his compassion, seeing the value in helping children in need rather than punishing them. Others were skeptical, fearing that the twins might cause trouble or that the rancher's kindness would be taken advantage of. Despite the whispers and glances, the rancher remained steadfast in his decision, believing that every child deserved a chance to grow and learn in a safe environment. As the days turned into weeks, the twins began to thrive on the ranch. They developed new skills, built friendships with the animals, and gained a sense of belonging they had never known. They learned that life could be fair and kind, that hard work and patience could bring rewards, and that mistakes were opportunities to grow rather than reasons to be punished. One evening, as the sun set over the fields, the twins sat with the rancher by the fire. The warmth of the flames mirrored the warmth they felt in their hearts. They looked at him with gratitude and wonder, realizing that their lives had changed forever. The rancher, once a quiet and solitary man, had become their protector, teacher, and friend. Through his patience and kindness, he had shown them a world where compassion and understanding could triumph over fear and judgment. The twins' journey was just beginning, but they already felt the power of hope and trust. They understood that the world could be harsh, but also that there were people willing to help, guide, and care for those in need. The quiet rancher had not only rescued them from immediate danger, but had given them the tools and courage to face the future with confidence. And so, life on the ranch continued, filled with lessons, laughter, and discovery. Each day brought new experiences, new challenges, and new opportunities to grow. The twins learned to see the world not as a place of fear and punishment, but as a place of possibility and hope. With the rancher by their side, they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would never face them alone. Life on the ranch continued to unfold like a gentle river, moving steadily and shaping the twins in ways they had never imagined. Each morning, the sun rose over the horizon, painting the fields with shades of gold and amber. Birds sang their cheerful songs as the twins stepped outside, feeling a mixture of excitement and curiosity about the day ahead. The rancher was already up, tending to the animals or preparing tools for the day's work. His quiet presence had become a comforting rhythm in their lives, and the twins began to rely on it more than they realized. At first, the twins were shy and cautious. They had spent much of their lives fearing punishment and judgment, so even simple acts of kindness made them uneasy. When the rancher asked them to help with chores, they hesitated, unsure if they would disappoint him or make mistakes. But the rancher never scolded them or demanded perfection. Instead, he guided them patiently, showing them how to carry out each task and encouraging them when they succeeded. Slowly, the twins' confidence grew. They began with small chores like feeding the chickens and gathering eggs. At first, they fumbled, dropping eggs or spilling grain. Each time the rancher would kneel beside them, showing them the correct way without anger. "It's okay," he would say, his voice calm and steady. "Mistakes happen. What matters is that we learn from them." The twins listened carefully, absorbing not only the instructions but also the lesson behind them. They realized that mistakes were not punishable offenses here, they were opportunities to grow. As the days passed, the twins became more comfortable with the routines of ranch life. They learned to carry water for the animals, sweep the barn floors, and help mend fences. Each task, no matter how small, brought a sense of accomplishment and pride. The twins discovered that their efforts mattered, and that the rancher valued them for who they were, not for their past mistakes. For the first time, they felt a sense of belonging. The rancher also encouraged the twins to explore the land around the ranch. There were hidden paths through the trees, small streams where fish darted through the water, and meadows full of wildflowers that swayed in the breeze. The twins marveled at the beauty around them, something they had often overlooked in their past struggles for survival. They laughed and played in the fields, chasing butterflies and discovering secret spots where they could rest or watch the clouds drift by. In these moments, the twins felt a rare sense of freedom and joy. One afternoon, while helping to gather firewood, the twins began to speak about their past lives. At first, their voices were soft and hesitant, as though speaking aloud might make the memories real and unbearable. They talked about their travels, the constant hunger, and the nights spent sleeping under the open sky. The rancher listened quietly, never interrupting or judging. When they finished, he simply nodded and offered words of comfort. "You've been through a lot," he said gently. "But now you have a place where you are safe. You can start again." The twins found it difficult to believe at first. They had learned to expect the world to be cruel, and kindness was foreign to them. Yet each day, the rancher showed them patience, understanding, and compassion. His actions spoke louder than words. When one of the twins stumbled while feeding the horses, the rancher helped him gently without raising his voice. When the other spilled water on the floor, the rancher simply smiled and guided him to clean it up. Through these small gestures, the twins began to trust him completely. Trust, however, was not built overnight. There were moments when the twins would hesitate, looking over their shoulders as if expecting someone to punish them. At times, they would withdraw, retreating into silence when confronted with new tasks or unfamiliar situations. The rancher never forced them to speak or act before they were ready. Instead, he gave them space and time, understanding that trust grows slowly, like a seed taking root in the soil. The twins also began to form a bond with the animals on the ranch. They learned to feed the chickens, care for the horses, and even groom the cows. The animals responded to their gentle touch, and the twins felt a sense of responsibility and pride in caring for them. Through this connection, they discovered empathy and patience, qualities that had been buried under fear and hunger. The rancher watched with quiet satisfaction, knowing that these lessons were just as important as any he could teach with words. As weeks turned into months, the twins' confidence and skills continued to grow. They began to help with more complex tasks, such as mending fences, planting vegetables, and assisting with the harvest. Each accomplishment strengthened their sense of self-worth. They began to see themselves not as lost or unwanted children, but as capable, valued members of the ranch. The rancher's steady guidance had transformed their fear into courage, and their uncertainty into hope. During this time, the twins also began to learn about responsibility and accountability. The rancher explained that caring for the ranch and the animals required consistency and effort. "Every action has consequences," he said. "If you care for the animals, they will thrive. If you neglect them, they will suffer. Life works the same way." The twins listened carefully, understanding that their choices mattered. They began to take pride in doing things properly, knowing that their efforts had real impact. Despite their growing confidence, the twins never forgot the harsh lessons of their past. Hunger, fear, and survival instincts still lingered within them. But now, they had guidance and support to navigate the world differently. They learned to ask for help when needed, to share their thoughts and feelings, and to work together as a team. The rancher's influence had given them tools to face challenges with courage and wisdom, rather than panic and desperation. The twins' relationship with the rancher deepened over time. They began to see him not just as a caretaker, but as a mentor and protector. He taught them not only practical skills, but also values like honesty, compassion, and perseverance. The twins observed his quiet strength, his patience, and his unwavering commitment to doing what was right. These lessons became the foundation upon which they could build their future. Even the villagers began to notice the change in the twins. Those who had once criticized the rancher's decision to take them in were slowly impressed by the twins' progress. They saw children who were now responsible, respectful, and capable, rather than mischievous thieves. While some still whispered doubts, It was clear that the rancher's kindness and guidance had made a lasting difference. One evening, as the sun set over the rolling fields, the twins sat quietly by the fire with the rancher. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the gentle breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. The twins reflected on their journey, from fear and hunger to safety and learning. They realized that they were no longer the helpless children who had been tied to a tree. They had grown, learned, and discovered a sense of purpose they had never known before. In that moment, the twins understood the true power of kindness and trust. The rancher had not only rescued them from immediate danger, but had also given them the tools to face life with confidence and hope. He had shown them that even in a world that can be harsh and unforgiving, there is always room for compassion, patience, and understanding. Life on the ranch continued, filled with lessons, laughter, and discovery. The twins embraced each new day with curiosity and determination, eager to learn, grow, and contribute. The rancher remained a steady guide, offering support, encouragement, and wisdom whenever it was needed. Together, they formed a bond that would endure, a bond built on trust, respect, and the shared journey from fear to hope. The twins had come a long way from the day they were tied to a tree, hungry and afraid. They had discovered a new world, one where they could thrive, learn, and belong. With the rancher's guidance, they were learning to navigate life with courage, responsibility, and compassion. And while their journey was far from over, they now faced the future with a strength and resilience they had never known before. Life on the ranch was not always easy, even though it had brought the twins safety, food, and kindness. Every day came with new challenges, and the twins quickly learned that life required effort, patience, and careful attention. The rancher, while gentle and patient, expected them to try their best and to take responsibility for their actions. These lessons were sometimes difficult, but the twins discovered that overcoming challenges brought its own rewards. One morning, the twins were assigned to help the rancher with the horses. The task seemed simple at first, but the twins quickly realized that handling large animals was more demanding than they had imagined. The horses were strong and unpredictable, and one of them, a tall brown stallion, kicked suddenly when the twins tried to lead it to the stable. The twins stumbled backward, startled and fearful. The rancher rushed to their side, not with anger but with calm reassurance. "It's okay," he said gently. "The horse didn't mean to scare you. You just need to understand him better." He showed the twins how to approach the horse slowly, how to speak to it softly, and how to move with confidence. The twins followed his instructions carefully, and after several attempts, they successfully led the horse into the stable. The sense of accomplishment was immediate and profound. They had faced a challenge that had seemed impossible and had succeeded through patience, observation, and courage. That day, the twins learned an important lesson. Challenges were opportunities, not obstacles. They realized that mistakes were not failures, but steps along the path of learning. The rancher's guidance helped them understand that perseverance and care could overcome even the most daunting tasks. They began to approach each new responsibility with determination, knowing that effort and focus would bring results. Other chores also tested the twins in different ways. They learned to mend fences, repair broken tools, and plant crops in the small garden behind the house. These tasks required concentration, precision, and patience. At first, they struggled, often making mistakes or getting frustrated. But the rancher never scolded them. Instead, he offered encouragement and gentle corrections. "Try again," he would say. "You're learning, and that's what matters." With each task, the twins' confidence and skill grew, and they began to take pride in their accomplishments. Beyond practical skills, the twins also faced emotional challenges. They had lived most of their lives in fear and uncertainty, and old habits of hesitation and mistrust sometimes resurfaced. There were moments when they doubted themselves, worried about disappointing the rancher, or feared that their past would define their future. The rancher, sensing their unease, would offer quiet reassurance. He reminded them that their past did not control them and that they had the power to make choices that shaped their own lives. Slowly, the twins learned to trust themselves, as well as the world around them. Life on the ranch also taught the twins about compassion and empathy. Caring for the animals required not only skill, but also understanding and patience. They learned to notice when a horse was anxious, when a cow was hungry, or when a chicken needed attention. Through this care, they discovered a connection to the living world that was new and meaningful. They began to understand that responsibility was not just about completing tasks. It was about caring for others and being mindful of the impact of their actions. The rancher continued to guide the twins with quiet wisdom. He shared stories about life, work, and community, illustrating lessons in honesty, perseverance, and respect. He explained that life was not always easy, but that challenges could be met with courage, patience, and kindness. The twins listened intently, absorbing the lessons and applying them to their daily routines. They began to see the world in a new way, recognizing both the difficulties and the opportunities that life offered. One afternoon, a sudden storm swept across the plains. Rain poured down, and the wind howled through the trees. The twins were initially frightened, unsure how to protect the animals and themselves. But the rancher remained calm, guiding them to secure the barns, bring the animals inside, and gather supplies. The twins followed his instructions carefully, working together to ensure that everything was safe. By the time the storm passed, they had learned not only practical skills, but also the importance of staying calm and focused in difficult situations. The experience strengthened their confidence and deepened their trust in the rancher. Over time, the twins began to take initiative. They noticed things that needed to be done and completed tasks without being asked. They cared for the animals, tended the garden, and even repaired fences on their own. The rancher observed their growth with quiet pride, understanding that the lessons he had taught were taking root. The twins were becoming responsible, capable young people who could face challenges with determination and care. The twins also began to develop a sense of community on the ranch. They interacted with neighbors and travelers, learning how to communicate, share, and cooperate with others. They discovered the value of kindness, honesty, and mutual respect. These experiences broadened their understanding of the world and reinforced the lessons they were learning on the ranch. They realized that trust and compassion could create bonds that lasted, and that helping others was as rewarding as receiving help. Despite the progress, life on the ranch was not without setbacks. There were days when crops failed, animals became sick, or tools broke. There were also moments when the twins made mistakes, sometimes forgetting instructions or misjudging a task. But the rancher treated these moments as opportunities for learning rather than reasons for punishment. He encouraged reflection, problem-solving, and resilience. The twins learned that challenges were not signs of failure, but stepping stones to growth and understanding. Through these experiences, the twins grew stronger both physically and emotionally. They developed a sense of responsibility, resilience, and confidence that had been absent from their lives. They learned that life required effort, care, and patience, and that every challenge, no matter how difficult, could be overcome with determination and guidance. The rancher's quiet wisdom and steady presence became a source of strength, shaping the twins into capable, thoughtful, and compassionate young people. By the time the seasons began to change, the twins had transformed. They were no longer the frightened, hungry children tied to a tree. They were confident, skilled, and capable, able to contribute meaningfully to the ranch and care for the animals and land. They had learned that challenges were part of life, and that perseverance, patience, and compassion could overcome even the greatest obstacles. The rancher, once a quiet and solitary man, had become a mentor, teacher, and guardian. Through his guidance, the twins had discovered the power of trust, responsibility, and kindness. They had learned that mistakes were not the end, but opportunities for growth. They had learned that life could be fair and rewarding when approached with effort, care, and understanding. As the sun set over the fields, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the twins stood together, looking out over the land they now called home. They felt a deep sense of gratitude and hope. They had faced challenges, learned valuable lessons, and grown in ways they had never imagined. Life on the ranch had taught them that the world could be both challenging and beautiful, and that with courage, patience, and guidance, they could navigate it successfully. The twins' journey was far from over, but they had already learned lessons that would guide them for the rest of their lives. They had discovered the strength within themselves, the value of compassion, and the power of trust. And as they continued to grow on the ranch, they knew that they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, confident in their abilities and supported by the care of the quiet rancher who had changed their lives forever. The days on the ranch had settled into a rhythm, a steady and comforting routine that allowed the twins to grow in ways they had never imagined. They woke each morning to the sound of birds singing, the soft lowing of cows, and the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze. The rancher, now a familiar and trusted figure in their lives, greeted them with a warm smile and a calm voice, ready to guide them through the day's work. The twins had become skilled and confident, no longer timid or unsure of themselves. They knew their place on the ranch and had begun to embrace the responsibilities that came with it. Each morning, the twins worked alongside the rancher, tending to the animals and caring for the land. They fed the horses, brushed their coats, and ensured that the cattle had fresh water. They checked the fences for damage and repaired them when necessary, learning the importance of diligence and care. The twins also worked in the garden, planting seeds, watering crops, and harvesting vegetables. They marveled at how their efforts could transform the land, turning small seeds into thriving plants, and realized that the same principle applied to their own lives. With care, patience, and hard work, they could grow and flourish. Beyond the daily chores, the twins discovered other ways to contribute to the ranch. They helped the rancher with cooking and preparing meals, learning to measure, mix, and cook with precision. They learned the art of patience as dough rose slowly in the sun, or as stew simmered over the fire. These small tasks, once unfamiliar and intimidating, became sources of pride and accomplishment. The twins realized that every action, no matter how small, had meaning and value. The bond between the twins and the rancher deepened each day. The rancher taught them not only practical skills, but also life lessons. He spoke of honesty, kindness, and perseverance, and shared stories of times when he had faced difficulties and how he had overcome them. The twins listened attentively, absorbing his words and applying the lessons to their own lives. They began to understand that life was not always easy, but that courage, determination, and compassion could help them navigate even the most difficult challenges. Over time, the twins also began to form connections beyond the ranch. Villagers who once doubted their character started to notice the positive changes in them. Some came to the ranch to seek advice or to share resources, and the twins learned how to interact respectfully and confidently with others. They discovered the value of community, realizing that relationships built on trust and kindness could bring joy and support. The twins felt proud of the progress they had made, and they began to envision a future filled with possibilities. The rancher encouraged the twins to explore their creativity and curiosity. He taught them to observe the animals carefully, to notice the changes in the weather, and to understand the rhythms of nature. The twins began to document their observations, drawing pictures of the animals, sketching the landscapes, and keeping notes on the growth of crops. This exercise not only enhanced their understanding of the ranch, but also nurtured their imagination and critical thinking. They realized that learning was a lifelong journey and that every experience could teach them something valuable. Even in moments of leisure, the rancher continued to guide the twins gently. He played simple games with them, told stories by the fire, and encouraged them to read and explore new ideas. The twins cherished these moments, recognizing that learning could be enjoyable and that life could be filled with wonder and discovery. They laughed freely, played without fear, and began to experience a sense of joy and contentment that had been foreign to them for most of their lives. One of the most significant changes in the twins was their growing sense of responsibility and maturity. They understood that their actions affected not only themselves, but also the animals, the land, and the people around them. They approached each task with care, attention, and dedication. The twins had learned that life required effort, patience, and integrity, and they embraced these values wholeheartedly. The rancher's guidance had transformed them from frightened, hungry children into capable, thoughtful, and responsible young people. The twins also learned about empathy and compassion. They began to notice when animals were unwell or frightened and took initiative to comfort and care for them. They learned to work together, to support each other, and to share responsibilities. These experiences deepened their understanding of relationships, teaching them that kindness and consideration could create trust and strengthen bonds. The twins realized that true strength was not just physical, but also emotional and moral. As the seasons changed, the twins continued to grow and thrive. Spring brought new life to the garden and the fields, and the twins reveled in planting seeds and watching them grow. Summer brought long days of work and exploration, and they learned to appreciate the beauty of the natural world. Autumn brought harvest and reflection, and the twins marveled at how their efforts had transformed the land. Winter brought quiet moments by the fire, where they could rest, reflect, and plan for the future. Each season brought lessons, challenges, and opportunities for growth, and the twins embraced them all. The rancher watched the twins with quiet pride, recognizing the incredible transformation they had undergone. From frightened, hungry children tied to a tree, they had become confident, capable, and compassionate young people. The rancher's patience, wisdom, and unwavering kindness had provided them with the tools to face life with courage and hope. He had not only rescued them from immediate danger, but had given them the foundation for a meaningful and fulfilling life. One evening, as the sun set over the fields, the twins stood together, looking out at the ranch that had become their home. They reflected on their journey, the fear, the hunger, the uncertainty, and the challenges they had overcome. They realized how far they had come, and they felt a deep sense of gratitude for the rancher who had believed in them when others had not. They understood that their lives had been forever changed by his compassion, patience, and guidance. The twins also recognized their own growth. They had learned to face challenges with courage, to care for others with empathy, and to approach life with hope and determination. They had discovered the value of hard work, responsibility, and perseverance. They had learned that mistakes were not failures but opportunities to learn and grow. Most importantly, they had learned that kindness and trust could create bonds that would last a lifetime. In the quiet moments of that evening, the twins felt a sense of peace and fulfillment. They had found a place where they belonged, where their efforts were valued, and where they were cared for and respected. They had discovered the joy of learning, the satisfaction of hard work, and the power of compassion. They knew that life would still have challenges, but they now faced the future with confidence, knowing that they had the skills, knowledge, and guidance to navigate it successfully. The rancher joined them, standing silently beside the twins as they watched the sun dip below the horizon. He did not need to speak. The twins understood the depth of his care and guidance. The bond between them was unspoken but strong, built on trust, shared experiences, and mutual respect. The rancher had given them more than safety. He had given them the tools to build a life filled with hope, purpose, and joy. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, the twins felt a sense of optimism and determination. They knew that the future was theirs to shape, and that they had the power to continue growing, learning, and making a positive difference in the world around them. They had discovered that life could be both challenging and beautiful, and that with courage, patience, and kindness, they could overcome any obstacle. The story of the twins concluded not with an ending, but with a beginning filled with promise, growth, and hope. They had been rescued from despair and fear, and they had found a home where they could thrive. They had learned the value of responsibility, the importance of empathy, and the power of trust and compassion. And as they looked out over the ranch that had become their sanctuary, they knew that they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together and with confidence. The twins' journey was a testament to the transformative power of kindness and patience. It showed that even in the face of hardship, trust, guidance, and compassion could help individuals grow, learn, and achieve their potential. The ranchers' quiet dedication had changed the course of their lives, and the twins had embraced the opportunity to become strong, capable, and hopeful. In the end, the twins had discovered not only a home, but also themselves. They had found courage, resilience, and a sense of purpose. They had learned that life, while sometimes difficult, was also filled with beauty, possibility, and hope. And with the rancher by their side, guiding and supporting them, they were prepared to embrace the future with open hearts and determined spirits, ready to write the next chapters of their lives with confidence, compassion, and joy.